It is Wednesday, February 13th, 2019. Thank you all for tuning in to the Steamed Mobile Tech YouTube channel. Today in this video, I'm going to strictly be covering all of the summarizing events of the congressional hearings held today in regards to the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. Now, what I want to do is just go ahead and highlight everything that was, spoken in terms of transcript, in terms of video footage, everything that I could dig up from these particular hearings, both as it pertains to John Leisure, Marcello, who was also present, as well as all the representation from Congress that were there at these hearings. So to kind of get things started in the video, I want to just kind of give you guys the tone of what John, the CEO of T-Mobile, was providing. So some of his early quotes sounded something like, the merger is good on many fronts. He explicitly mentioned cable, wireless, and then 5G. He mentioned the benefits it would offer for competition. He said it would usher in an accelerated path to 5G networks and innovation, and just basically offer a better competitor competing with Verizon and AT&T. He said them by name. So upon completing these statements, representatives from Congress went ahead and offered the response that they were heavily concerned about the untruthful coverage maps and the price hike concerns. So these things have been supposedly addressed in the past, but they made a big sticking point. Different representatives saying that their coverage maps were a failure. I think he was specifically citing Sprint on this end, saying that Sprint's coverage was false and they were liars about what exactly they had in coverage. Marcello went on to talk about how, with the help of roaming agreements, roaming partners from Verizon and AT&T, they did have, a large roaming coverage map. But again, I think the representatives, the congressmen, were not buying that story, and they definitely questioned this to a large extent. Lawmakers also voiced some concerns, and I want to say for sure it was not just Democrats. It definitely was bipartisan in terms of concerns, so there were Republicans that were also in on this. So this is not strictly a political separation that Republicans want the merger and Democrats do not. It was both sides being represented here in their concerns. So one of the concerns was obviously losing a carrier, the concern of prices most likely eventually going up. So they explicitly and on several occasions mentioned low-income consumers. I think specifically what they spoke of was the prepaid side. If you guys look on the screen here, in terms of the merger, Virgin, Boost, Metro, if you combine those three conglomerates into all the prepaid into T-Mobile's ownership, that is almost a 40% market share, which is massive. So they would most definitely have control of the market in terms of pricing, and that is a price-sensitive sector. So, T-Mobile and Sprint representatives also admitted to several outlets previously that prepaid would see price hikes with this merger. So they have admitted it, and they're saying that no matter what, customers are going to have to pay the price hikes when they do increase pricing. Now, what I want to kind of move to is this guy here that I have in the screencast on this photo, this image. This is Representative Mike Doyle, and he spoke extensively, and his focus was this is going to create less competition. This is going to provide less options for consumers. It's probably going to lead to less innovation. He's extremely skeptical about what T-Mobile, the new T-Mobile, is going to do for rural coverage. And this was a big thing on his behalf. He was very concerned about rural customer concerns. So this was a big sticking point. It was mentioned many times. And actually, there were several Republicans, one of which I think was from New Mexico, who over and over again repeated that the rural customer concerns were of paramount importance to them. So, these representatives, these congressmen, are not convinced that T-Mobile is not going to find a loophole and find their way out of this 3-year no price hike promise that they recently made on not raising prices on rate plans. So they're very skeptical on that, and he is imploring the FCC and the DOJ to reconsider this, all of the potential issues with the merger. So you think about what T-Mobile could possibly do in terms of finding loopholes in their 3-year promise, as they're calling it. The first thing that could possibly be the case is I think that T-Mobile could change their data caps. I think they were concerned about that. Also, another thing to consider is, could you go ahead and increase the data plans on the premise that, we've made network quality improvements, and, the customers have to foot the bill since they're taking advantage of those improvements. And then another thing is they could also involve, third-party charges, which aren't really going directly from T-Mobile, but could come from other services. So all of this could lead to premium charges, which would lead to increased cost. Now, an attorney general has already said that they don't want to have to regulate these merger promises, something like what T-Mobile's John Legere just said. They say it's futile, they say it's pointless, and it always seems to fail, so they're not in the business of having to regulate promises that mergers claim. Another thing that actually came up during the congressional hearings, Huawei and ZT were mentioned, and John definitely came out and said, we have no existing, no previous, and no future plans to work with any network equipment provided by ZTE or Huawei. Now, there is one issue there, is while this is true for T-Mobile USA, it is not true for Deutsche Telekom, and it's also not true for Japanese parental ownership group SoftBank, which is the parent ownership group of Sprint. So, that really didn't hold water. And the third thing that I wanted to mention was this whole claim that Sprint can't survive on its own. I mean, you've got, organizations like Bloomberg that are advising a lot of these congressmen, and they ask them questions and they want to know what their perspective is. And according to different market analysts and different researchers, they don't view Sprint as a failing business. In fact, they have advised several of the different congressional representation that for several quarters, Sprint has been showing subscriber growth and positive revenue. So, in other words, they're telling, congressmen that Sprint is essentially lying, they're exaggerating, and they're just looking to merge unnecessarily. In addition to this, Sprint is not an ailing firm, and they're just, they're saying that basically they are experiencing growth. They're experiencing postpaid and prepaid additions and revenue gain. And, they really view Sprint as a company on the rise. So this being said, I think what we take from these congressional hearings is Democrats and Republicans alike obviously are very concerned about the merger. They're asking the FCC and the DOJ to consider it very closely. They're asking them to question it and not to just willy-nilly allow the merger to go through. They don't see the urgency that Sprint has to have, or else their business is going to fail. They don't see how the merger is going to allow, the new T-Mobile to help in innovation, to improve 5G, to get coverage to rural areas of the country. They're not convinced of those things. Now, some of you may speculate and say, well, maybe it's just they're protecting Verizon, they're protecting AT&T. But as of right now, that's purely speculation. These congressional hearings are going on, and this is what people are saying. So as of right now, this is what we have. My takeaway from all of this, from the summary of everything that was said and happened in today's hearings, is congressmen, many of them, are highly concerned about it, and they don't want it to happen. This, however, does not dictate the decision that the FCC and the DOJ has to make. So ultimately, the FCC and the DOJ will have final say in this. It's up to them to make a decision whether they approve the merger or they deny the merger. So those are the two parties that are actually making the decision. It's not congressmen. Now, obviously, their opinions hold weight, but they're going to be the ones that are making the decision, not the congressmen. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes in the future. I don't know if there's going to be more hearings. I don't know exactly what's going to happen moving forward. The risk of a potential, government shutdown is looming. So we'll just have to wait and see. So you guys can let me know what you think of all of these developments, all of the statements from the hearings. Drop me a line in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Anything that was mentioned in today's video, anything from the hearings, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So go ahead and drop me a line. Thank you guys for watching the video. Thank you guys for commenting in advance. If you could, please share the video, like the video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't done so already. And ding the bell to be notified whenever I upload new content. That's it for this one. Thanks again for watching. This is Steve from Steve Mobile Tech, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.